At 81 years old, Patti LaBelle stands before the world with the same dazzling smile people have adored for 6 decades. But behind that smile is a lifetime of heartbreak the public never truly understood. She survived poverty in Philadelphia, the collapse of her first music group, a marriage that quietly fell apart, and the deaths of her mother, father, and all 3 of her sisters, each of them long before their time. She watched her entire family disappear, one by one, until she became the last voice in a house that was once filled with laughter. And now, in the final chapters of her life, Patti admits something she never dared say before. Fame didn't save her. It left her painfully, unbearably alone. Long before Patti LaBelle became the godmother of soul, she was Patricia Louise Holt, a quiet little girl growing up in the worn-down streets of Fairmount, Philadelphia, in the late 1950s. The air smelled of coal smoke. Kids played hopscotch on cracked sidewalks, and families packed themselves into narrow row houses where walls were thin and secrets were even thinner. Inside one of those homes lived the girl whose voice would one day move the world. Patti was the middle child, surrounded by noise, but she herself was painfully shy. Whenever the front door opened, she hid behind her mother. When relatives visited, she slipped into corners. And whenever tension filled the house, which was often, she ran upstairs to a small bedroom closet, crawled inside, closed the door, and began to sing, soft at first, then louder, until her trembling little voice drowned out everything happening downstairs. Music wasn't just a talent, it was her shelter. Her father, Henry Holt, was a complicated man. Patti heard whispers about him, rumors of other women, nights he didn't come home. She saw her mother sitting alone at the kitchen table, wiping away tears before anyone could notice. Patti noticed anyway. Children always do. And each time, she slipped back into the closet to sing away the fear. Her mother, Bertha, was gentle and loving but physically fragile. She struggled with chronic illness for years. Some mornings she could hardly stand. Other days she forced herself to cook breakfast just so her children wouldn't worry. Patti watched her mother fight through pain every single day, learning early that love often comes with a cost. But nothing shaped Patti more than the unimaginable losses that came later. 3 of her sisters, Vivian, Jackie, and Barbara, died young from illness, all before turning 45. Each death hit the family like a violent storm. Patti was still a teenager, watching her world collapse piece by piece. She remembered the ambulances, the hospital halls, the phone calls with bad news, and the sound of muffled crying spreading through the house at night. Death visited so often that Patti began to expect it. She truly believed she would die before 45, just like they did. Before she became the powerhouse the world knows today, she was simply a girl learning to survive grief, a girl who carried more sorrow than most adults experience in a lifetime, a girl who learned that nothing, not love, not family, not safety, was guaranteed. And yet it was this pain that built her voice. She didn't just sing, she released something. Every note sounded like it was pulled from a memory. Nights in that closet, hospital rooms, her mother's weak breathing, her sister's fading laughter. Patti once said that when she sang, she felt her sisters lift her voice higher than she could reach alone. By the early 1960s, Patti joined the Bluebells. Even then, her voice didn't blend, it soared. On stage, she looked fearless. Offstage, she trembled with anxiety so intense she sometimes had to be pushed onto the stage. But once she began singing, something powerful took over. As the years went on, success grew, but so did the pressure. The group reinvented themselves as LaBelle, wearing futuristic costumes and performing shows that left Patti physically drained. Meanwhile, tension inside the group grew until it finally broke them apart in 1977. Patti woke up the next morning feeling like she'd lost a limb. After the group ended, the world expected her to go solo immediately. But Patti was terrified. Her sisters were gone. Her group was gone, and panic attacks haunted her nightly. She cried alone in her living room, surrounded by old photos and memories that hurt too much to look at. Still, she kept going. She always kept going. In 1978, she married Armstead Edwards, the calm schoolteacher who had managed her during the LaBelle years. Their marriage brought her peace for a while, tea before rehearsals, singing to their baby, quiet dinners after long recording sessions. But tragedy returned again and again. Jackie died in 1980, her mother in 1982, her father in 1989, and her last sister, Barbara. In 1992, Patti held Barbara's hand as she died. She screamed when it was over, collapsing against the wall. She was now the last surviving daughter of the Holt family. Meanwhile, her marriage slowly dissolved. She and Armstead drifted apart quietly. In 1994, after 31 years together, he left a note saying, "I think we've given each other everything we can." Patti cried for hours. She didn't fight it, she didn't have the strength. By 1995, Patti LaBelle was a superstar. But she lived alone, in a big house built for a family that no longer existed. In 1996, she collapsed backstage at the Grammys. In 1998, she quietly fired her manager after discovering financial betrayal. In 1999, the press invented diva feuds she never asked for. In the 2000s, her health worsened again. She collapsed on stage in Atlanta in 2005. She watched her best friend, Sarah Dash, struggle with severe illness in 2008, and then die in 2021. Patti performed the night she found out, smiling through tears. In 2016, during a show in Milwaukee, a man rushed the stage with a note. Security shut down the show immediately. Later, Patti learned it was a bomb threat. She began arriving hours early to venues, just to check every door and hallway herself. By 2017, she was a legend, but also a woman who had buried nearly everyone she loved. She ate dinner alone most nights. Holidays felt empty. She slept with the TV on just to escape the silence. Fans saw the gowns, the glamour, the power. They didn't see the losses, the graves she carried in her heart. The nights she cried alone at her kitchen table, staring at an empty chair that once belonged to someone she loved.